Your client is going to buy hair products. The only question is whether they're buying them from you, the professional that does their hair, knows their hair, and works with their hair. There's some girl on TikTok that has completely different hair than they do that basically talked them through it and told them what to do. And if you're one of those people that says, I'm not a salesperson, it makes me feel like a used car salesman to be talking about products, then I'm going to argue that maybe it's time that we rebrand what retailing actually looks like. So if you didn't know, I actually work for a small boutique product line, and I get the opportunity to travel pretty much all over the country and train, teach, and talk about the product. And one of the things that I've noticed very recently is that even more so than product knowledge classes or hands-on demo or any kind of styling classes is the class request of how do I retail? The things I hear is I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to be pushy. They're already spending so much on their hair. What's even the point anymore if they can get it on Amazon? And numbers wise, from a business standpoint, there actually is a big point. Because whether you're leasing a station, you have your own studio, or even if you're working in a commission space, who doesn't love extra money, especially extra money that can pay your bills? But that's obvious, and that's what makes us feel like salespeople. However, one of the things that I hear stylists say all of the time about why they got into this industry is because they liked to make people feel beautiful, because they loved the artistry and the creative element, and they pretty much got paid to play with real live dolls, and that's our job. We really enjoy creating beautiful hair. So what if we tackled retail from that perspective instead? Retailing isn't necessarily selling a product. It's finishing the professional recommendation through action. Stick around for today's conversation because I'm going to share some of my favorite approaches to retailing that help me stop feeling like a used car salesman and really create a bigger benefit for not just my bank account, but for my client. And if you love conversations like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe buttons so we can continue to leave this industry better than we found it. So here are 3 of my most consistent approaches when it comes to retailing product and our rebrand of the idea of retailing. First and foremost, you have to know your product. Now that can be tricky if you're working with a line that has 100 or more products, but find your core bread and butter products. Like I mentioned, I work for a small boutique line. The entire product line is only 13 SKUs. That makes it really easy for me. But everybody has their core bread and butter products that they consistently use, whether it's the obvious shampoo and conditioner or your thermal protectants with your finishing sprays. Know them in your sleep. Understand what they do, who they're for, what problems they solve, how you use them, how much you use, and even when you wouldn't recommend it. I know when I talk about products, I'm not an ingredient focused kind of stylist for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not a scientist. 2, I'm also not a nutritionist. And 3, I am not an expert on allergens in any sort. Now, obviously, if I know I have clients that are allergic to gluten, am I mindful of things of that? Absolutely. But presenting something as gluten-free is never my first approach. It just doesn't seem authentic to me to be sitting there talking to my client about this extravagant oil that was pulled from some random seed on the side of a mountain that does X, Y, and Z. That just doesn't sit right with me. And mostly because the minute somebody starts talking to me like that, I feel like they're selling me something and I kind of close off. From my perspective, that's exactly what we're trying to avoid doing. So I kind of balance it out by if I wouldn't like it, then I shouldn't do it. So rather than focusing on things like ingredients, I focus on what the product does for the client. So your first task is always going to be educate your client based on what you heard from them. Think about your consultation. Think about the things you hear during a consultation. Your client says, my hair is always dry. My toner always fades. I use a lot of heat on my hair. My hair is always tangly. Whatever it is, you're hearing and you're collecting all of this data. And the beauty of it is that because you know your products, you know how to solve all of these problems that you're collecting. So you're finding solutions for them. You have dry hair? Well, guess what? I have a shampoo that I'm going to use because it's going to be really hydrating for your hair and help the hair get a little bit more of that moisturized and balanced feeling. Your hair struggles to detangle? No problem. That's why I'm going to use this conditioner specifically to help loosen and soften the hair and make detangling a lot easier. Your toner fades and you use a lot of heat? No sweat. We're going to use this light thermal protectant to ensure that we're protecting against the heat, and hopefully that will assist in ensuring that your toner doesn't fade as quickly. Solve your client's problems. Listen for the problems that they've already given you. So quick recap. 1, you have to know your product. 2, you have to listen to be a problem solver. And last but not least, we're going with 3. We're going to talk about them out loud. Basically, you want to become your own personal Morgan Freeman, narrating what it is that you're doing with the product while you're doing. One of the things that I think we take for granted as hairstylists is that we know, right? We know we're grabbing this product because we're going to smooth out the blowout and there's thermal protectant. And instead we get distracted by our typical conversation and stop explaining what it is that we're doing. And in our heads, we might be thinking, okay, yeah, I'm grabbing this because I need this and this is going to help with this. What we forget is that our client doesn't know that. And that's why they have the problem to begin with. That's why they say, how come I can never get my hair to look like this at home? Sure, there's years of technique and expertise, but you've also got some support from the product. And that's something that they for sure can take home with them to help get closer to the look that you achieve. Now, some of the pushback that I get on this is usually, well, I'm not an educator and I'm like super shy. I'm not a talkative person. I don't know how to present this stuff. Don't present it. Just talk out loud. Narrate everything that you're doing. It can look as simple as, okay, so I'm going to grab this styling lotion and I'm just going to put maybe like half a dime size in there. I'll rub it around my hands. Like I'm going to wash my hands with it, and then notice how I push it underneath in the back of your hair first to get the bulk of your hair. I'll continue to rub it around and then work my way through the front and the hairline. One of the reasons your hair might feel greasy is because you might be grabbing your product and just putting it in the front first. I want to start in the back where you have most hair, so then it avoids getting greasy. It's not groundbreaking. It's just narrating what I'm doing. And that's what I mean. Be your own personal Morgan Freeman when you're going through, when you're styling, when you're shampooing, and bring in those problems that they talked about and how you're solving them and what you're doing to solve. Now, Kat, what if my client is talking nonstop and she's right in the middle of the story? That's okay. There is nothing wrong. I do this all the time with my clients. They may be telling me about this huge drama that happened at the last family reunion. I have no problem saying, hey, hold that thought really quick. I want to show you this. You were talking about your hair feeling a little bit oily, so I just want to show you this really quick. I show them, I do everything that I say, and then I have no problem with saying, okay, keep telling me more. Tell me everything. Because yes, they love to connect with you and they love to have these conversations, but it's still your job and your priority to bring forth your professionalism and deliver an expertise and service that they can only get from you. Remember, you would much rather have your client learn from you and exactly what you're doing in that moment, specifically for their hair, than some random influencer they're going to see on TikTok anyway, who is using some random product that works specifically on their hair. They're listening to somebody and they're buying from somebody. Why not have it be you? Really, it's that simple. And of course, there's always going to be moments of not necessarily pushback, but where your client's asking you for guidance. Hey, so you're using that thermal protectant. This is the kind of thermal protectant I have at home. What do you think of that? Give your honest opinion. I work at a salon that is exclusive to one product line, and I don't actually have any issues with that. In fact, most of my clients exclusively work with that line. But when it comes with new clients, they might be using something different. Or every now and then you have somebody that needs a different price point or, needs variation. That's fine. Give your honest opinion. Yes, that's actually a great product. Finish using it. And then if you want to try something else, this is what I'm going to recommend to you. If you don't, hey, you know what? That's not my favorite product. But if you're looking for something in that bracket, give some different recommendations. Understand what your core products are so then you can understand what's also out in the market and give your clients access to different products that fit their needs, whether that's budget, whether that's look, whether that is whatever they want. It not only helps you lean into being the professional, but it also doubles down that I'm not necessarily telling you all of this just to sell it to you. I'm telling you all of this because it solves the problems you told me earlier. And if solving that problem means giving you a different recommendation that I don't carry, I'm okay with that because it's building our trust. And I would much rather have a long term relationship with my client that's built on trust and them trusting my professionalism than not. It really is just another layer and way of showing your clients you care. There's one final thing that I do in every single service, and that is I recap. So once the service is all done, I do walk my clients up towards the front, usually where the front desk team will rebook them and reschedule them for their next scheduled appointment that I guide them through also. But before we make our way up there, I do stop at the product wall and give them a quick recap of what we used and what I recommend if we were going to start with anything. So it might look like something like, all right, so really quick, here's a recap. We started with this shampoo for this reason. We moved in and paired it with this conditioner for reasons X, Y, and Z. And I kept your styling really light. We just used this light styling balm with that thermal protectant just to ensure that we were protecting the hair, but you still had that nice bouncy blowout. If I could make a recommendation, I would say start with these guys. Otherwise, that's what we worked with today. And I keep it at that. I don't say, would you like to buy that? I don't say, which one of those will you take today? I don't. I'm presenting it to them. Some days they say, okay, I need this, this, and this. Some days they say, hey, can I take a picture of it? Great. Personally, I know the product line that I work with doesn't sell on Amazon or anything like that, so I don't mind them taking a picture. I know they're going to come back and support me here, but it might also just be one of those things that they're taking a picture because they want to remember what they want to potentially work with when they run out of specific product they already have. It just creates a reference for that. Sometimes when you're retailing, it's not always an instant effect. Sometimes you are just planting that seed, and you're planting that seed that later will grow into something because maybe they need to go through the product they already have. Maybe they're still iffy about the price point. Maybe they want to just feel and see if the hair will hold up the way that you say it will, and they're just wanting to sample and test it. That's fine. But the likelihood of them coming back and purchasing a product from you will be significantly higher than had you not done any of that, because you created a sense of trust that carried outside of the salon when you are not there. They're remembering the experience. And I've said it once already, I think I've said it twice, but wouldn't you rather they remember you, your expertise, what you recommended, than some random influencer that's selling whatever they got paid to say is good that could potentially lead your client further away from what they want their hair goals? I know I wouldn't want that for my clients because hair is not one size fits all. We say this all of the time. So every person needs a different recommendation, needs a different amount of product, or even a different product to achieve maybe the exact same look that same influencer they see online achieve. Retail in this industry is one of our bread and butter pieces of how we continue to connect with our clients, which is why I really think it needs a rebrand from the idea of it being a used car salesman style vibe. Rather than asking yourself, how do I convince my client to buy something? How do I sell this to my client? Maybe start asking yourself, why am I allowing somebody who's never touched my client's hair or seen my client to take better care of them than I do? And if you ever find yourself stuck thinking, how do I approach this? What do I do? How do I even get into retailing more? Remember, know your product so you can educate around the problem. Narrate what you're doing, become your own personal Morgan Freeman, and recap that recommendation so they have a full understanding of what it is you used and why you used it. You're not trying to become a better salesperson. You're finishing the professional recommendation. So I want to know, where do you get stuck when it comes to retail? Do you even carry retail and salon anymore? Do you find yourself projecting your own budget on what your client could potentially spend? Comment down below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you next time when we have another conversation that's not about a blow dryer.